Good day, ladies and gents. Today I'm going to show you how to get started on your magazine cover if you haven't already. Some tips and tools that'll get you started to create an effective magazine cover, and some general design tips to keep in mind as you go through this assignment. So the first thing I will do is make a new document. Just like we did last time, we're going to use a template. This time, instead of CD cover, we're going to use A4, which is just your standard magazine cover dimensions. So here's going to be our working space. The other thing by now is you should have had a chance to think about what your theme or topic of your magazine is going to be. Is it going to be a photography magazine? Is it going to be a fashion magazine? In this instance, mine's going to be about skateboarding, in particular longboarding. So after you've had a chance to find a nice large image on the net, you can go ahead and open that as well. Mine's a picture of a young man doing a power slide here, so he's going to be the cover of my magazine. So the first thing to note is if we look at the workspace and we look at our image, this workspace here is in the portrait orientation. That is to say that it is taller than it is wide, whereas my image is a horizontal or landscape image. So the first thing that I'd want to do, looking at this image here, is actually to zoom out and to use a square select to have it mirror or better represent what I want to have on my magazine cover. So I want to have this gentleman here. Now it's basically the same size or basically the same shape. I can copy it, Control C. I can go on top of my workplace here now and actually paste it in. So we'll see the image pasted in quite small. I can close this image, I don't need it anymore. What we can do to increase the size of this is use our scale tool. Click on the image and just make sure this chain is linked. If it's unlinked, link it. That means that as we use our corners, the image will get larger, but it won't distort. It'll stay looking the same way that it's supposed to. So there I've had a chance to scale my image. It'll take a moment to update. There we go. So we can see what portions fit on. That looks pretty good. So here's what's going to be the cover of my magazine. Once you've got it to this point, what we need to think about next is basically what's going to go on. What is the title of our magazine? Title usually goes at the top. And what are the article titles going to be? What are we going to find inside this magazine as far as information? So what I'm going to show you is how to put in the title and also how you can hide portions of the text so it looks like your subject matter is in front of the title. So to begin, I'm going to select our text feature here. I'm going to put a square where I want my title to be contained within. So I don't want to take it directly to the edges. And mine's going to be called simply Skateboard Magazine. I'm going to have it on two separate lines. So there's Skateboard Magazine. Just remember that at the moment our font is pretty small, so we can't necessarily see it. We're going to go over here. We can start to make it larger. And if I want to change the color, I can do that as well. So I'm going to close this. We still have our features accessible to us here. What I want to do is to actually choose a color for this font that I can find somewhere in this image. So I'm going to actually zoom in. And I'm going to choose one of those red colors that I can actually see in his wheel down here. So I'm going to use this eyedropper feature. Gives us a pretty nice red. I'm just going to tweak it a little bit to make it a bit brighter. Now if I go up to my text, let me zoom out a little bit. We can see what this title looks like. So here we've got Skateboard Magazine. I can still afford to make that quite a bit larger. It's a little bit too large. My text is cut off. I'll make it smaller until it fits. I can expand my square a little bit. That looks good. And keep in mind, you can have it left aligned, you can have it right aligned, you can have it in the center. I think I like mine right aligned. Zoom out, just give you an idea of what it looks like with the text as it is right now. So here's the cover of our magazine. Here's the text that we have. Here's the background. And what I want to do now is actually have these portions that are hiding this gentleman's face and arm, I want to actually have those removed. So here's how you can go about doing that. First thing you want to do, hide the text layer so you don't look at it. And with the background selected, it's blue here, just click on top of it. We're going to zoom in. And we're going to use our scissor select tool to highlight the portions of this gentleman that we want to have show through. So if we look at our text, his head's covering, his arm, and up here. So I'll hide the text again, grab my scissor select tool. I'm going to make the selections. In a moment I'll show you what it looks like when it's active. So I've had a chance to make my selections and to move any points that I need to. After connecting to the first dot that I'd drawn, I can click inside. And now this layer is active. So the idea when this layer is active, it actually means if we were to, go in and paint, we'd start painting on top of this layer. But that's not the layer that we want to effect change to. So if we make our text layer visible again, and then we click on it, so here the title is skateboard, I click on it to make it active, we can actually go in now with our eraser tool and start to erase the portions that we don't want to see. I can't erase these sections because they're not selected. Only this marching ant selection is selected, and it's the only thing that's going to get erased. So I can go through and I can erase this. And if we zoom out and get a feel of what it looks like now, I go to select none. Let's zoom out. Now we've got this gentleman in front of the text, so it looks like it's behind. Now we can think about what do we want to put in terms of articles. So what I'll show you is how you can continue to incorporate this sort of idea of a color palette or a color theme. So the first thing we need to think about is where's the negative shapes? Here's our subject matter, this gentleman doing a power slide. Where are the empty spaces where we can put in our titles? So we've got some space here on the left and the bottom, and maybe a little bit of space over here on the right. So I can go back and select my text feature. I'm going to put a square. I want to contain everything in my article right in this square here, even a little bit smaller actually. And let's start off with the first one. I'm going to pick a title that's reminiscent of my category or my title here. So, The Return of the Longboard. If you notice, we've got a particular size font here, so I actually want to choose a different font. I'll make it quite a bit smaller. And now I want to pick a color that's somewhere else in this. So if we're looking at a color that would work well on top of this dark green, well, maybe if we zoom in and we pick a blue out of the sky here. So I use my eyedropper too, and I pick a nice light blue out of the sky. Now if I go back down, I can see how that fits on my font. That looks nice. What we'll see is all the articles on the left should probably be left aligned. And now if I want to zoom out and see how that fits, maybe add a little bit more text. There we go, The Return of the Longboard, Power Slide, and Tight Pants. I can move it so that it fits in. I select my background. I can see what it looks like. So make sure that it's legible, that you can read it easily. I'm going to show you some more articles and how to continue grabbing colors in. So when I return, you'll see a couple more articles pasted down here in the negative spaces. So here's my last text box or article cover that I'm going to put in. If you'll notice right now it's left aligned. If we want to change this alignment or justifying, we can go to the right. There's a tendency for things that are on the right to be right aligned and articles that are on the left to be left aligned. The other thing that you'll see is that by playing around a little bit with the size of the text box, we can actually control a little bit about the shape. So play around with the shape. This one, if we'll see, works pretty good about getting the viewer's eye around. We can move it a little bit. And here we go. The last thing I just want to draw your attention to is you probably want to limit your fonts on a magazine to 3 or 4. 4 would be pretty excessive. Quite common it's 2 or 3. So here I have one font, here's a second font, and here's a third font. The last thing that you can do is find an image of a QR code or a price tag, and you can copy and paste it in. I'll show you that in just a moment. So the last thing you can do is find a QR code or a price code and open it up, which I've done here. Go to Select All and copy it. Now if we go to our background layer, we can paste it in. We can use our Move tool. Place it in the bottom right hand corner. If it's looking a little small, we can scale it as well. There's a magazine.